Traditions, values, culture. These are the things that help us remember where we came from. It's time for Family Heritage Stories with your host, Doug Jessup.
Hi, this is Doug Jessup. Welcome to Family Heritage Stories, where we talk about what makes us who we are. Things like traditions, values, culture. How are these things passed down from generation to generation? Through words, through deeds, through stories. What kind of values are you passing down to the next generation? I recently had a conversation with my granddaughter, and the subject of boys came up. Oh boy. Well, she has a list of 3 values that she's thinking are important. Number 1, be honest. Number 2, be kind. And number 3, be helpful. Pretty good list. What do you think? Welcome to this episode of Family Heritage Stories. Today, Michael Tingey, and he's Michael S. Tingey, and apparently there's more than one. Just saying. Okay. Mike, thanks for coming on today.
Oh, thanks for having me here.
Now, I got a question for you, and this is kind of the first question I like to ask everybody. And there's no wrong or right answers, but the name of the show is called Family Heritage Stories. What do Family Heritage Stories mean to you?
A huge amount. Where we come from, our family, how our progenitors afterwards are all really important to me. I'm proud of who came before me. I hope I live up to their expectations. And I'm really proud of my kids, my wife, my grandkids, and now one great-granddaughter.
Oh, congrats.
So things are pretty important to me that way.
Okay, now, since I'm not going to ask you also names because, but since you do have one great-granddaughter, what's her name?
Melanie.
Melody. Hi, Melanie. Okay. So we just have to give her a shout out. Come on,
And one of my granddaughters, who is just a little bit younger than Melanie, is Capri.
Okay.
So we better
give some things.
Indicate to Capri too. I was a long snapper, probably the best thing that I was able to do. And my junior year, Skyline took the All-State tournament for the very first time in Skyline history. There's been lots and lots of other state championships, but I was there for the very first one, which was really thrilling.
What happened after high school for Mike?
A lot of things in a hurry. First of all, after we graduated from high school, there were a lot of the team members who were going to be getting offers to go play football somewhere else. I didn't get any. But my friend Mark Sorensen, who I met in second grade, and had another friend, Dave Ulrich, who we also met in second grade, and we're still dear friends to today. Mark was an all-state guard, and he got an offer to go up to the University of Utah. And we were sitting around in the locker room, and people were talking about where they were going to go and what they were going to do. And Mark said to me, "Mike, you ought to come walk on at Utah." And I said, "Oh, I don't know." And the guy by the name of Steve Mayrow, who was on the team, he was a tight end, said, "Mike could never make it." And I thought, "You rotten bugger, I'm going to show you."
Okay.
And so I walked on. And I started out as the 6th-string center out of 6. And there was a guy by the name of Brownie Van Gelder, who was a quarterback, and he was the 6th-string quarterback. And he and I rose through the ranks about the same time. And when I had to leave the team with Mark to go in basic training, it was the Vietnam War time, and we went into the National Guard. When we left to go, I was the number 2 center. Brownie Van Gelder was the number 2 quarterback. And after we had gone, I was really pleased to see that Van Gelder ended up being the starting quarterback for 2 or 3 years for the University of Utah. I don't know that I would have done that. I was much, much smaller than the rest of the guys, but I probably would have snapped long for punts and and extra points and things like that.
I'm not sure I want to call this thing Wilson, but after the movie, but it's tempting. So I'm not even sure I could pronounce that. So tell me about this volleyball.
Oh, this is the type of volleyball that we used when I was a young man playing a lot of volleyball. Our family has really excelled in volleyball, even down to this day. We played a match that was probably somewhere around 2 hours long.
Oof.
It was back and forth and back and forth. And it was at a time when in church volleyball, you had the responsibility to call your own touches on balls. We each had one game each that we'd won. We were into the third game, and it was, I think it was 13 all. We played to 15. And the Winter Third Ward set Golden Richards, who is an amazing athlete, and he was just pounding the ball. And he went up for a spike and hit this thing, and it went just rocketed and hit the wall about 4 feet up, all the way off the court. And we were elated because now it's 14-13, and we've only got 1 point left to go. And I saw my brother Paul walk over to the referee, and he said, "I touched it." Nobody in the stands, not a referee anywhere, saw that touch. It didn't deflect the ball at all. But he said, "I touched this ball." And we were all kind of deflated. They turned the serve over to the other team. It was still 13-13, and there were 2 more serves, and they won both of them. And we lost 15-13. That story has been told around the church for a long time. Marion D. Hanks understood what was going on there and had told it many times. But it's absolutely true. The thing I was so proud of, every one of our teammates went over and told Paul, "Hey, it's okay, we're going to get it." They weren't critical of him. They supported his honesty. And that's the kind of thing that I wish was more in sports today.
Now, you've mentioned that you've got kids and grandkids, and sports is obviously a big thing in your family.
Yep.
If there was a lesson that you wanted your kids and grandkids to know, and go ahead, feel free to use a sports analogy.
Yep.
Okay. What would it be?
Work hard to be the best that you can. Work to be a great team player. And in the end, play by the rules and be a good sportsman.
Everyone has a story. Have you told your story? This is Doug Jessup. It would be my honor to help you tell your story with a private in-studio interview with a video for you to keep. Go to FamilyHeritageStories.com for pricing and to schedule your interview. I got a cassette recorder when I was 12 years old, and I started interviewing everybody and anybody. My favorite person, my Gramps. Okay? He told me all kinds of things, including things that my mother didn't know. So here's a question for you. Do you have stories that you want your kids or grandkids to know about you that they don't know? Maybe you ought to talk to them. So let's help everybody. And we're going to do an open book quiz here. Everybody, you ready to answer this question? Here it is. How did you meet your spouse? Welcome to this episode of Family Heritage Stories with my friend Deanne Jensen. And that's Jensen with an O-N, just saying, right? Okay. Deanne, thanks for coming on today. So we wanted to get an idea as to who you are, where you came from, all that kind of stuff. So first off, it's Family Heritage Stories. What does family heritage mean to you?
Family heritage is who I am. I am part of everyone that is a part of me because of our heritage together. You
went and applied for a very interesting job.
Yes. Well, after BYU, I was working as at this engineering firm, and I worked there for 3 years, and my boss informed me that he was leaving the company.
Oh dear.
And I just couldn't take the idea of working for someone else.
Okay.
So I was at job service and took all the tests, typing in shorthand and English and grammar. And anyway, they told me I had done really well and that the Foreign Service happened to be at job service.
Wow.
And would I be interested in talking to them? And I thought, oh, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk to them. So I did. And before I knew it, they were sending out the FBI.
Oh my, okay.
And so I went through that, and then I got a letter saying that I had been accepted, and I just had to sign saying that I would go anywhere in the world.
Whoa, anywhere.
This was during Vietnam.
Oh, wow,
And I
okay.
wasn't sure about that. So on the letter I wrote, I will go anywhere in the world there is a branch of the LDS Church.
Really? That's a great little snippet there. Okay, okay.
Well, I got a phone call from the State Department, and they said, you can't do that. You have to agree to go anywhere.
Okay.
But we have a job here in Washington if you'd like to come.
Okay.
And I said, okay,
Sure. What the heck?
why not? So the next thing I knew, I was on the plane going to Washington. Whew,
Yeah.
never dreamed of such a thing.
So how long were you in Washington then?
I was in Washington 1 year.
Okay.
And well, I was there just a few weeks, and I had friends who were going to Paris and Peshawar. One of my friends went to Peshawar, Pakistan, and I just thought, this is once in a lifetime. You better go for it. So I said, yeah, I'll go anywhere. Well, I had to stay for a year at the State Department, and then they sent me to Belgium, where there was a branch of the LDS Church.
There you go. And chocolates.
Oh yeah,
Come on,
and
chocolates, So how long were you in Belgium then?
2 years.
Okay. And then what happened next?
And next it was time to go home for a leave after you've been there for 3 years with Washington. And they send you home for 3 months.
Okay. Anything special happen in those 3 months?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah. Okay. Do tell.
I met my husband, the man of my dreams, the one that I was waiting for all that time.
Oh, that's sweet.
I was 28, and it was time that I settled down.
Okay. And what was his name?
Grover Elias Jensen.
Okay. So inquiring minds want to know, okay, what was, and I might embarrass some people. I don't know. Okay, we'll say, what was Deanne and Grover's first date?
Our first date was, we went to a theater in the Round in Salt Lake. It was north of Salt Lake, almost to Ogden, I think.
But I'm gathering that you guys didn't pay too much attention to the play.
No, that's probably why I can't remember the name.
That's probably true. Okay, but you weren't singing.
I wasn't singing.
Okay, well, maybe you were in your heart. Okay, I know he was.
my
It's like,
heart
wow,
was.
okay, yeah. So from your first date with Grover until he said, yeah, hey, let's get married type stuff, how long were you dating before he proposed?
3 months.
Whoa, okay, Grover, go for it, buddy. So how did he propose?
we had gone to a play, and we came home and were just talking, and he leaned over and gave me a kiss, and then he said, "I want you to be my wife." And I said, "I'd like that."
I love it. That's cool. So after, okay, now how long of engagement did you have?
3 months.
Okay, he liked 3 months. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
and then boom,
yeah.
off we go. So life with Grover. So what did Grover do for a living?
He was a clinical social worker.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Wasatch Mental Health, 35 years.
My goodness, wow. Okay. So what was life for Grover and Deanne and your family as you're starting your family and all that kind of stuff? You know, you had, from what I remember, you have 4 children. So tell me a little bit about each of them.
Okay, my oldest was Ryan, and he's my right-hand man. He lives very close to me, and whatever I need, he's right there. Second was Tyler, and his family is just one of my favorites because they're just so active and doing the things that I like too.
Okay.
I just really enjoy them. And Brandon told us about 6 years ago, or 7, that he was transgender. And but he didn't act on it. He was married. He had 4 beautiful children, wonderful children. And then a year ago, he decided to become female full-time. And I love that woman. I have a daughter. I didn't have a daughter.
What's her name?
Her name is Aurora.
Okay.
New beginning.
Yeah. Number 4?
Number 4 is Jeremy, and he has, well, he had 6 children. 1 passed away, so he has the 5, and he lives very close to me too, and they're a wonderful family.
Okay, so let me see if I get the numbers right. Okay, so 4 kids. How many grandkids?
18 grandchildren.
Okay, any great-great-grandchildren?
Great-grandchildren, I've got 9.
Wow, okay, so 4, 18, 9. Wow, okay. You and Grover have been busy. Okay,
Yes, we were.
had some fun.
Having fun.
There you go. Now, the other thing that I look at is the impact that you have on a family. So your husband was in the mental health field, and I understand that you got a couple of your kids that have followed in those footsteps as well.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes, in the industry, Tyler has worked at Wasatch Mental Health. And now, well, when my husband was there, he had a program that they built a brand new building for this program. Well, now my son Tyler is in, his office is in that building.
That same building. Oh,
That
that's
same
special.
building.
Wow. Was he in that while Grover was still living? Or had Grover passed by the time that your son got in there?
Yes.
He had passed. Well, I'm pretty sure that he'd be pretty proud.
Oh, yeah.
So, the other thing that I wondered about is, and we've talked a little bit about this, you are a very well-dressed woman, okay, and you've got all these beautiful objects, and you've got this cameo, and you have some of those around here. And to me, objects with stories are treasures remembered. And sometimes it's passed down from generation to generation. So this cameo, from what I understand that you're wearing, has a special story. So where did you get that one?
Well, I got it from my mother, but I know it was my Grandma Jolly.
Okay, so how far? So you got it from your mom, and your mother's name was
Laprille.
Laprille. Okay, and who did Laprille get it from?
And she probably got it from her mother, Shalisha.
Shalisa. Okay, and who does Shalisa get it from?
And Shalisha probably got it from Grandma Jolly. And that's who I remember wearing it.
Wow. And so what was Grandma Jolly's first name?
Isabella.
Isabella. So that's Isabella's brooch. Okay. Wow. That's pretty neat. And I'm guessing that's going to get passed down to somebody. Yeah, okay. So they need to know that story. What would it mean to you to have a video of your mom, dad, grandma, or grandpa telling their story? This is Doug Jessup. It would be my honor to help share their story with a private in-studio interview with a video for you to keep. Go to familyheritagestories.com for pricing and to schedule your interview. Everyone has unique skills and talents. My grandfather was a furniture maker by trade, but as a kid, I remember him always having a camera. Well, those old films and those old pictures influenced me to become a broadcaster. How did you get into your occupation?
Do you remember the first piece of art that you sold?
It was in high school. It was to my art teacher, a different art teacher.
Okay.
But the real first time I sold art was, I don't know if you remember the company Scripture Stickers, but I was drawing in my stickers, or I was drawing in my scriptures, and I'm like, how can we get this to the masses? So I came up with the sticker concept and put it out there. And so that's the first time I really got paid to be an artist, was Scripture Stickers. And that was just an idea. And then pretty soon I actually knocked on people's doors and said, hey, can I paint your house for $250? I'm like, well, that's a good deal. Start over here on the porch. And I'm like, no, your house. Paint a picture of your house. So I would paint a picture for $250, do it in one day. And I'm like, man, I can make hundreds of dollars doing this. So then I went down to Walker Lane, you're familiar with that area, and knocked on some of those doors, and $250 just sitting around on the table. And I raised my prices, and slowly but surely, that's how it started.
Wow. Painting houses.
Sure.
Geez, I guess you're going to have to paint my house now.
I actually wanted my wife to do the folk art because I lived in Boston for a brief period, and she was from there, and folk art's big.
Oh, yeah.
And so I went, yeah, you ought to do that. Nobody's doing it. And she didn't want to, and so I started doing it. So it was kind of an accident.
So let's get into that. You say folk art. Okay, there's lots of different art. I've interviewed lots of different artists, and I've seen...
I love it all. I really do.
From, millennial ago. But what is you said folk art,
right?
Okay. What, in your opinion, what defines folk?
Okay, great question, because one time I had somebody write a 3-page essay telling me how my art is not folk art. And my only response to him was, wow, you know a lot about folk art. Because I think it's interpretational. My definition of folk art is the interaction between people and their environment. It's storytelling. I mean, to me, I can fit 15, 20 stories into one painting. And when I realized that, and it was later on in my career where I realized, my goodness, folk art is just a fantastic storytelling venue. And with a big family where we'd sit around dinner and we'd tell stories and half of them were true, it was just natural for that to happen. So it was really an awakening for me to go one morning to go, wow, I was meant to do folk art. So that's my definition.
You've been an artist for quite a few years, but what was the impetus for this first puzzle thing? And what was your initial thought?
Well, that's a great question because, again, I feel fortunate that most of them are accidental. I was sitting down with somebody, I was doing a puzzle with somebody like you, somebody you want to know, a little intimidating, and you're going, I don't know what to talk about. And we started to do a puzzle together. Within 10 minutes, everybody lets their hair down. You can't fake it for too long. And before you know it, you're saying silly things, dumb things, funny things, whatever. And you just become yourself. And so all of a sudden I know this guy because we're doing a puzzle together and we're telling stories. And then it gets serious, gets silly, mostly silly. But that's when I found out about my daughter's first kiss by doing a puzzle with her. And then,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And then you have to pretend like no big deal. It's like, yes, where does it live? Here, I've got a piece over here. Anyhow, that's how I learned or felt when I was doing my first puzzle. And I went, well, maybe I can do that. And so I started to make puzzles. My first one was a terrible puzzle, but it sold well. And I don't even know why to this day. But the next one was, I believe I did a Salt Lake City and a Portland puzzle. and nobody had a Portland puzzle up in Portland, and so we sold very well. It was nice discovery, but it was more from the reality that people can really interact when you're doing a puzzle. You really get to know somebody. I love that part of it. Folk art is a little old-fashioned, farming, slowing down, talking, and again, storytelling. That's when it happens. So that was the impetus of puzzles. And for years, I was introduced as the puzzle guy, and I didn't like that because I'm an artist, right? I don't want to be known as the puzzle guy. It's, for years, I actually tried to get out of the puzzle business because I wanted to, the gallery market and prestigious art. But one day I woke up after I realized more people are looking at my art through puzzles than any other form of art. And I went, I'm being really ungrateful for the gift I've been given. And so I changed. And now I've embraced the puzzle side of this. I've named a show after puzzles.
The last words that my grandfather said were, "Please remember me." This is Doug Jessup. It would be my honor to help you share your story with a private in-studio interview with a video for you to keep. Go to familyheritagestories.com for pricing and to schedule your interview. Human connection. That's what it's about. From cave art to doing videos on our phones for our grandkids. We're just trying to make a connection with people that we know and love. Sometimes these stories stand the test of time. Recently, I did a bunch of interviews with some veterans from a very special unit, the 159th Medical Evacuation Group called Dust Off, served in Vietnam. What is the value and the power of a story? Ask Mara.
It's priceless. It's priceless to me because when I was first sitting with the guys listening to their stories, it's something you just can't get back. And there's a lot of stories I wish I would have had recorded from my dad, my mom, my grandparents. So at least we were able to get these stories recorded. And to have them videoed and digitized is key because the younger generation, sitting with my nephews, doing homework with them over COVID, they weren't looking at books, they were looking at screens. And they can look at this on a screen.
Everyone has a story. This is Doug Jessup. It would be my honor to help you tell your family heritage story. Here's how it works. We'll schedule a professional interview at the same studio I do my TV show. We already have the broadcast cameras, audio, and lighting set up to ensure quality control. All you need to do is come to our Salt Lake City studio and we'll do the rest. Our professional editing staff will take out bloopers and add your pictures to create a private digital video for you to keep. Go to familyheritagestories.com for pricing and to schedule your interview. It's my honor to help people remember where they came from. To me, if stories aren't passed down from generation to generation, they become lost. And it's as though those people never existed. How do you want to be remembered? With another entry into Family Heritage Stories, I'm Doug Jessup.